Welcome to the Infrastructure Podcast, this new series of conversations with some of the key leaders and influencers from across the vast UK infrastructure sector. My name is Anthony Oliver and I'm going to lead today's discussion. The aim is to give you a few insights into the people behind infrastructure's most interesting challenges and maybe inspire a bit of positive change as we highlight the opportunities. In today's podcast, we're going to talk about the role of modern engineering consultancy. And over the last decade or so, we've seen the world of engineering consultancy change dramatically as the market has consolidated to create a small number of super large, globally focused, multidisciplinary consultancies backed by a large number of small specialists. Clients perhaps benefit from this single point of contact, but what has been the impact on innovation and agility? Well, to discuss this issue, my guest today is Richard Robinson, Chief Executive Officer, UK and Europe at Atkins, which with 10,000 staff across the UK and as part of Canadian SNC Lavalin Group since 2017, another 25,000 around the world, is certainly one of the largest consultancies in the UK. Richard, welcome to the Infrastructure Podcast.
Anthony, thank you, and thank you very much for having me. It promises to be a very interesting conversation, so I've been looking forward to this.
Well, let's kick off then. Let's find out a little bit more about the role of the modern engineering consultancy. Richard, I mean, you've been leading Atkins for just over 3 years, and of course, you spent nearly 7 years at another consulting giant, AECOM. So briefly, how do you describe the role of the modern engineering consultant?
So Anthony, I think the role of the modern engineering consultant, large or small, is perhaps the same as it's ever been. Actually, it's to understand the client's problem, it's to bring the best solution. But I think probably the key thing that's changed is the pressures on the solution have no doubt evolved from not just being about cost and schedule of a project, for example, but to include things like social value, net zero, the use of digital, equality and diversity of the project team, and all things that are really important to the future of the industry and future of societies. And of course, the tools are evolving, aren't they, with the mega trend of digital that's been enabled by internet speeds, processing power, the advent of the cloud that's enabled large sets of data to be collected and then sensibly processed by things like artificial intelligence. So the problems have evolved and the tools to address those have evolved.
So huge number of changes and challenges there. But I mentioned the recent consolidation across the market. And I presume you recognise this. But so the question is, why is big best?
I do recognise it. It's an obvious trend, isn't it? Well, I don't think I would say big is best. I think I'd say big has a place, and medium has a place, and small niche consultants have a place in the work we do. And it's a great ecosystem like that. And many companies, it's a very dynamic and changing marketplace, and the way we serve our clients and the challenge I think for the industry is how those different size companies work together with our clients.
I suppose it's also retaining and making sure you retain focus on your client needs. You innovate and avoid returning to those so-called sausage machine solutions.
It is, and I think probably one of the advantages of scale is that we can pool our investment across our business and choose to more significantly invest in certain things. An obvious one would be driving digital innovation. I think probably an even better example for us personally is our affordable housing platform called Edaroth. Everyone deserves a roof over their head. And that's required £7 million to get off the ground in terms of platform, MMC, the digital that pulls it all together. But we believe that can transform the provision of social housing. And that would not have been possible without a really scalable scale of investment that we put into it.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I mean, as the problems get bigger, obviously the solutions require a lot more investment. I mean, on that basis, is there still a role for smaller businesses in the sector? I mean, if so, what is that? Is it about you collaborating with them? I mean, what is that role?
Well, I think there's, the startups and small businesses and small consultancies are driven from an ultra dynamic place generally, aren't they? Often either through a new idea that starts the business or an innovation out of a university or a group of people just wanting to do something differently in how they run a company. So, that part of our industry is obviously a hotbed of innovation and technology. And so, of course, it's got a place. And of course, as a big company, we're always interested in what are the new trends and how do we see those develop and which ones do we then want to partner with and work with and build into our broader offer. So, of course they've got smaller businesses have got a really important place in the industry.
I mean, you've worked on the client side over the last few years, most recently as Chief Operating Officer at HS2. Before that, you were at Heathrow Express business. I mean, what would you say modern clients want from their engineering consultants today?
I think, from my personal experience with that, I think to have an appreciation of the big issues the client faces. So I think I came to realize the whole reason I wanted to go client side for a little while was to really understand what it was like and what were the real pressures a big client faced, and the many things from public perception to planning to government departments to the Treasury to the whole thing that a big government public sector arm's length body has above it that often as the supply chain you'll tend not to see. And I think having that, what I used to say to a number of our big suppliers was, do you appreciate the problems that we've got as a leadership team, and can you bring us some, be proactive, bring us some ideas. We'll never throw you out the room for coming with some answers to the problems, that we're facing that aren't just in your contract.
Were you more comfortable getting back into the consultancy world after that?
Hey, look, it was, I think I have a. It's called empathy, isn't it? The ability to understand someone's feelings and issues without actually having to be in those shoes. But being in those shoes was a real way of understanding those things, and I don't think I would have got to it otherwise. So it's a great place to be. I would recommend it to anyone to do a spell as a client, do a spell as a supplier, and that appreciation of both sides of the fence is, I think, helpful no matter what.
But do clients still need to be? This is phrased the intelligent client. Is that still relevant? Can you provide that intelligence for them as a consultant?
Never been more relevant, I would say, Anthony. Never been more relevant. And I think a couple of things I would say on that to your answer to your question specifically. Yes, of course, engineering consultants can augment a client, of course, and that's quite a wide role that we tend to be employed to do across the industry. I think the one thing that's important for a client, I would say, is a huge organisation does not equal an intelligent organisation. So focus on a very intelligent, I guess, lighter touch organisation, because that would tend to force you to be more intelligent rather than having a big bureaucracy. Is the trick, and make sure that you are truly an intelligent small client.
Okay. Well, give us some examples of projects or clients that you're currently working with today that demonstrate, I suppose, the power that you at Atkins bring with your scale.
Yeah, I think so. Probably one of the best examples at the moment is NEOM. The new gigacity, I think you'd probably call it in Saudi Arabia, where the scale of that endeavour is such that even big consultancies are having to partner together in groups of joint ventures of 2, 3, 4 companies to service the scale that those projects require. I think closer to home, there's great examples of Hinkley Point C, Sidewell C development, where having that depth of track record and breadth of capabilities and being able to bring all those things together for a client is just super important. Clients will always have a challenge, won't they, between how many discrete things they can manage, how many interfaces they create between that, versus having one overarching provider that they then delegate some of that task to. I think that's a key decision in your delivery and then procurement strategy.
Okay, well, let's talk a bit more about you, Richard. As I said, your career has seen you work as a consultant and a client. How would you describe the different skills or leadership skills that are required in each role, in each setting?
Yeah, I think, leadership's leadership, isn't it? Making it your business to own and resolve problems, making it your business to assemble the very best team that you can, helping that team work together effectively. Those are things that are totally relevant on either side of the client or consultant. I think the point that I made earlier, Anthony's the main one, which is really understanding the pressure that clients are under, and as a consultant or supplier, if you're not careful, you only see the very tip of the iceberg, and understanding those wider issues is a huge advantage, I think.
Well, you've got Well, you're clearly passionate about the sector, and you've got 35,000 staff or so under your wing, which is not to be underestimated. But what's the most difficult bits of your current job? And I suppose conversely, what are the most rewarding bits?
So I think one of the most challenging things at the moment is understanding where the market's going and planning for the future. We've undergone really strong organic growth in our business here. We want to we want that to continue, but we want to be stable. We want to provide a great future and a great career path for our staff, and making sure we're able to do that without almost a traditional sort of boom bust that the industry tends to go through. Being a bit more far-sighted about that and how we scale our business and continue to provide a great place for our staff, and we have a very long tenure, generally long tenure in our business, and a lot of the people I tend to talk to have been here 20 years plus, and I think that's absolutely fantastic, and it's the heart of our technical capability and our culture. And being able to do that and provide careers of that duration is something that's really top of my list. So
you're one of the newbies at Atkins for sure.
I am. No, I mean, I think if you talk to people at Atkins, I was joked to people about this recently. They'll either have been here 2 years or 20 years. There's a very distinct. And I'm definitely, even at 3 years, I'm still just, I'm a new member, as it were.
the industry, certainly the industry's been through many upturns and downturns over your career, your short career, but what's kept you interested and excited about this sector?
Scale and variety, I would turn to. So if I give you an example, after working at HS2 and seeing some mega scale bridges, alignment type real core civil engineering projects. Over periods between lockdowns and semi-lockdowns during COVID, I made sure I got out to see our teams who were working on site. It's not a hardship, it's probably the most enjoyable part of my role. So I went to Tees Works to see the great transformation work we're doing at South Bank there with Tees Works to transform what was a legacy steelworking industry into a modern net zero facing carbon capture, wind turbine servicing, new global manufacturing and energy hub, which is what it will become. So that was amazing. I started my early career up there in the chemical industry, so I've got a real affinity for the area. And then a couple of visits to where I went to a project we're doing in Barrow-in-Furness. I saw some of the new nuclear submarines being built, which is an incredible technical. If you've got any sort of an engineering love for engineering, seeing something of that technical complexity being put together is
and scale,
and scale, just incredible.
So huge passion for the industry. What do you do to balance that in your own time?
Well, for my sins, my personal interest, my sort of life's work is golf. So I've played. That's my personal sporting interest. But I've been. My daughters, who are 11 and 12, have got really interested in hockey. So I've never played hockey, but the thing I look forward to most every week now is who they'll be playing, where they'll be playing, who they'll be playing, and going and watching them play. So
you're one of those terrible fathers on the touchline shouting. Great.
Well, I tell you, actually, what's really interesting is the club they're at has a very different coaching philosophy, and they train they when you first join, they take you to one side and teach you this and say, so you'll notice that nobody shouts from the side of the pitch at our club. And they say, I hadn't noticed that. But even the coaches don't shout during a game, and they train the children to play well and make decisions, and then let them play, and then they'll do the coaching afterwards. And it's really frowned upon to shout from the sidelines.
Sounds like a good thing maybe to bring into the office as well.
The leadership philosophy, isn't it? I said that recently to one of my teams.
Exactly. Yeah, shouting from the sidelines. Well, let's talk about transforming performance across the sector. The session's called "The Role of the Modern Engineering Consultancy." I mean, it's clear that the sector needs to transform itself. I mean, what are you doing at Atkins to spearhead this transformation? It says behind you, "Engineering a better future for our planet and its people." It's plastered all over the walls of the building. What are you doing to actually make that happen?
Well, I think two things that fall into two main categories. So one is we've been investing heavily in digital and digital transformation, and I will say it's not digital for digital's sake. It's really focused on delivery on the ground and working closely with some of our key contractor partners like Balfour Beatty, and working together to understand where things could be made more efficient on site, where things have been held up, where design's been redone, working all the way back in our process to make the whole thing better. And we've got some tremendous examples of productivity improvement that we've worked on, particularly with Balfour Beatty. So that's one thing we've been doing internally. And then I think as a company, you'll hopefully know that I'm deputy co-chair of the Construction Leadership Council. So as a company, we are committing senior time and personal time to the broader industry and helping influence the broader industry through Construction Leadership Council, which is, I think, an amazing forum of many people who are just about all volunteers who do things in their own time to move the industry forward. So two things, two areas where we're really trying to contribute.
So I was going to mention that, obviously your involvement in the Construction Leadership Council, which of course is a government industry collaborative there. I mean, what is the responsibility of government to lead that change that's required?
Well, of course, government's got a huge role, hasn't it, in influencing that. And one of the things I've been reflecting back on is, so we have four main priorities at CLC. We have net zero and biodiversity, we have building safety, we have people and skills, and we have what we're calling next generation delivery. And I'm the sponsor, if you like, the lead on next generation delivery. And I've been thinking hard about, one of the things I really remember was the BIM mandate, if you remember that back in the day. Mm-hmm, BIM Level 2. Tremendous government led initiative. I think made the UK a leader in BIM globally, made the UK a leader in digital construction. I've worked in most regions around the world, and I'm pretty convinced the UK is way out in front on most of those things. So when government chooses to make really well thought out policy interventions like that, I think they make a huge difference, and that's one of the things I'm working with the CLC to see what might be next, what might be the BIM mandate Mark II that we could look to do to make another step change and keep the UK ahead of the world in digital construction.
Well, building on that, I mean, I was at your office recently. It was a technology showcase, which is all incredibly interesting, and did highlight that the infrastructure world is changing rapidly towards the use of data and digital tools. I mean, how are you as a business in this fast changing world, how are you having to change to stay ahead in that?
I think I'd say there's a part of our business that many people from the outside wouldn't know we have or do actually, which is I would call digital, but I would call actually technology. And I'll give you a couple of examples of that. So when you go through Heathrow and you put your passport on one of the e-gates, it's an AI-backed facial recognition system. That's an Atkins project. For example, we own the design of a nuclear reactor technology through our Canadian business called CANDO, the reactor technology. So why do I share that? Because I think digital for digital's sake is a bit of the industry's Achilles heel, and being able to turn that into technology that's useful for transforming what actually happens on the ground is the key thing. So we focus really hard on that to make sure that digital makes a difference to productivity and end result.
Okay. I mean, one of the things that the industry does suffer from is a lack of diversity, which it remains a problem. I mean, how do you attract the brightest, smartest young professionals to Atkins to drive these kind of innovations?
That's a great question, and it is a big challenge for the industry. So I think one of the main things we're doing is making sure our net is cast as wide as possible. So we've in 2022 and 2021 actually we maintained our graduate program all the way through COVID, which I was proud of. We'll take on around 800 what we'd refer to as early careers. So that's not just graduates. We're going to take on over 150 apprentices, 200 industry placements this year across our business, and that is enabling us to cast our net very wide in terms of diversity. And when we look at the progress through our business, it's becoming much more diverse year on year, and we're really pleased about that. I think having the right environment for people to feel, anybody to feel they can succeed is obviously must be in place. And again, we've been working really hard on that with a program we call Different Makes a Difference across our business. So and we're pretty pleased with the progress that's made. We've got lots to do. We're certainly not resting on our laurels, but we achieved gold gold clear assured through an external accreditation assessor recently, and that told us that we'd made a lot of mechanical changes inside, but then our staff survey has told us actually that practically people are feeling much better about the business. And
fun also came up at the recent Major Projects Association conference. Do people have fun working at Atkins?
Well, I think as an industry, we're pretty good at having fun. If you've been to some of the industry events, I think you find an industry that knows how to not take itself too seriously, which is a good part of having fun, but also just to let their hair down. So, yeah, I see many of our teams who. They socialise together after work. They spend time together. They play football together. I think all those other things. So that tells me that they tend to enjoy each other's time, not just in the work context.
Okay, well, almost out of time. So sum it up for me, Richard. I mean, how do you describe the role of the modern consultancy? How will businesses like Atkins help the UK to meet the new challenges ahead?
So engineering consultancies, Anthony, they're at the heart of solving the net zero issue. They're at the heart of solving climate resilience, at the heart of transportation networks, energy production, energy transition, and frankly, if we can't do it, then it probably won't get done. So we've got a super important part to play in the future of the world, actually. And if that's not a great purpose to have, there's a lot of talk these days, isn't there, about purpose-driven companies? Well, I think our industry is right there on purpose, and I feel that's a big attraction for us too.
Richard, thank you so much for joining me today on the Infrastructure Podcast. A really interesting conversation for sure. Thanks so much for making time in your hugely busy diary. Some great insights into the future of engineering consultancy across the UK. Thanks for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you for having me, Anthony. It was very interesting. Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thanks, Richard. That's all we've got time for today, but we have more from the Infrastructure Podcast in the pipeline and more guests to talk to as we continue to probe the big issues faced across the sector. If you haven't done so already, do check out the new Infrastructure Podcast website. That's www.infrastructure-podcast.com, where you'll find background information and all the latest podcasts to listen to and share. So thanks for joining us. Thanks again to Richard. I look forward to seeing you again very soon.